But this again is the boring stuff. This isn't the fancy whiz-bang idea. This is literally a process map of how we process a payable, and we analyze it. We do what they do with the Toyota lean manufacturing approach, and let's remove all the waste and let's optimize our procurement process. So this is again the beginning part of how to make a company operate properly. And then there's simple stuff here that I'm going to, I'll explain it without trying to read it off. Tridel spends, so we're roughly $1 billion company. So you can imagine we're spending, we're spending close to $1 billion a year on stuff. So don't you think that if we could save 1% of the money we spend on buying stuff, that would be a really good ROI? Again, this isn't the technology stuff, but these are the things that matter. So what this is a number of different areas where we can measure. And there's simple concepts. The first one is something called maverick spend. Does anybody know what maverick spend means? They know, but there's no one else probably. Maverick spend means a company sends you an invoice that there's no associated order to. So imagine you're at home and someone just starts sending you bills. What would you do? You pay them?
Complain.
Well, if they just sent you a bill, people just send you bills, would you pay them? No. But one of the universities in the U.S. did a study where they sent out, I can't remember the exact quantity, like thousands of bogus bills, and 66% of them got paid. It sounds stupid. That's why I'm saying I wanted to bring the beginning, because we always focus on this lofty far stuff when there's this stuff in the middle. So literally what we measure is how many times, and there are some invoices that don't have an order, a hydro bill. There are the odd ones. But as a company, measure it. Because if you eliminate it, you know you're going to save money. So I always share the story, because this is real. So we bring this up. I'm in front of the owners of the company, the senior executive team. I bring up the report, and it shows maverick spend, and it explains what it is. And they go and they look, so what do you guys do when you receive an invoice that you have no associated order with? What do you do with it? And then all of a sudden, the guys I report to, the CFO, gets a look of panic on his face. What the heck do you say? Because it's literally as obvious as what I just said to you. If someone sent you an invoice to your house and you didn't know where it come from, what do? You don't want to pay it. So it's the same thing. So my friend comes up and he does a little tap dance and diverts their attention away from the fact that we actually were paying these orders, invoices that came in without somebody signed it off, it's just getting paid. So that's one area. Then there's just simple things here, which are we measuring what percentage of the things that we buy came off a negotiated price? So you imagine Tridel buys lots of stuff. So what do? Do you pre-negotiate everything? Don't you think you do better if you pre-negotiate before you buy versus receive all these goods and then just pay the rate? You can measure those things. So again, just simple things. That's what I wanted to bring your attention to, that these are the simple things that keep you in business. This isn't the sexy ROI, but this is the stuff to think about because it pays the bill. That little sheet there ended up giving us a multi-million-dollar investment in an accounting platform bringing this forward. Because we could say to them, we're spending close to $1 billion. Don't you think by doing these techniques I could save at least 1%? Sure. Because there's industry studies on all of these different things that say if you buy off a pre-negotiated price, you're going to save 5%. Okay, maybe it's not 5%, but there's something. You know that. You know that if you're just receiving invoices and you're not negotiating price before you're buying, you're paying too much. So you get the idea. I don't want to knock it down. One more slide. And then this is, again, looks like an eye chart, but this is the actual report, purchase order performance. What was the variance? What was the difference between what the invoice came in at versus the price that we agreed to? How many things came in without invoices? So let's start measuring. Because as soon as you start to measure, you can start to move the needle and you can start to prove the fact that this is working. So if you're not measuring, where are the areas that we are buying things that we haven't pre-negotiated? Well, let's start negotiating those. And this is how you drive bottom line value to the organization. So with that, let's move ahead. Now let's get into the more fun stuff that everybody gravitates towards, even though that other stuff is the stuff that really makes the company operate and really pays the bills. So leveraging technology for new opportunities for value. So the first is a customer buying experience. So this is the kind of place where you have these fuzzy ROIs. So why is making the customer experience going to help you make money? It's not as clear as those other ones where, I pre-negotiate my prices, I'm going to pay less. But the truth of it is we can measure at Tridel to know that 30% of the people that buy from us bought from us before. So we want them to like the buying experience. We want it to be easy for them to do business with us, which is why we created this, which is the My Tridel Home portal. So if you buy from us, the entire process is transparent to you. It shows you a little roadmap. It tells you, is your mortgage approvals in. As your checks are deposited, you can see in real time color selections, all correspondence. Everything is made available to the purchaser. And the reason it's important is when you buy a condo, you buy today, it could be delivered in 3 years. So you need some tool to share with people and to educate and create a better experience. And that's the older version. This is currently being redeveloped again because it's important. Customer experience is absolutely important to us. Next. The next part that's important to us, because we have a very large property management division, is the customer living experience. And this is again one of these areas which is a fuzzy ROI, but I'm going to ask a question. As Tridel, what do you think is more important? That we sell a home or we sell a living experience? What's more important?
Living experience.
Living experience. Why do you think that?
It goes further than just buying a home. It's in the long run, and if they want to repurchase another home, they'll tie their experience and maybe buy a Tridel again.
Exactly, and if you think about this at a fundamental level, this is kind of the Apple argument. Why do people overpay for Apple devices? It's an experience. They created a brand element to it, and it's the same for Tridel. If we start saying we're creating boxes for you to live in, we are now competing about being lower than cost than anybody else that produces a home. And that's not what we're about. We want you to love where you live because we want you to buy from us again. So again, fuzzy ROI, but you can see how that contributes. So I can click ahead. So we created this thing called, we're partners in a company that's called Bazinga. And we'll click one more. So what Bazinga is, you've moved into your home now. So this is post-buy cycle. And we've created another portal. And in this portal, this is now where you live, and you can go in and I can book a party room, I can view documents, I can get involved in my community, and we created a Facebook loop in the middle so that people can start to communicate. So click once more. Now that's again too far for you, but some of the stuff that's interesting, so this is just like a Facebook loop, but a Facebook loop for the community. And you have people saying things like, in my old condo building, where this technology doesn't exist, residents are expected to write an email, their concerns in a letter or email, so they can be formally addressed individually. This tool is really promoting community and collaboration, trying to share these concerns of all the residents. People are interacting, and this is even more powerful. I'm looking for someone who can look after my dog. And we have tons of these. I'm looking for someone I can play tennis with. We're doing a potluck. So why do you think that's important? So if you think...
Creates community.
Creates community. A lot of people don't leave the businesses where they were because of the people there. If people get connected and people like where they live, they don't want to move. And that again creates that experience of, this is a living experience. This isn't just a place. This is, I want to live in a Tridel community because they're doing these things that nobody else does. Does anybody have questions? Yeah.
Do you have a place in this platform for third parties to come in and partner with you?
Yeah, and that was I didn't go into the depth, but you're right, because I should have brought that, because that's the other ROI. So it's the other. I didn't show some of those loop posts, but some of the other loop posts are, I'm looking for someone to do cleaning. Well, how about we use this platform now as an aggregation tool? So someone can now offer, I'm not sure if this is where you're going, but we can now offer cleaning services discounted because I'm able to aggregate demand. And that's been happening. There's laundry services, another one that came up. Dog walking services. We've been in discussions with Grocery Gateway, pharmaceutical drops. So all the people in the community, this is a platform for aggregating demand, creating convenience, works for both sides of the fence. You get ROI. Whole new ways of working. Our buildings downtown now are getting 60, 70 packages a day. That's the way the world is evolving. So as you can see, other ways of using the technologies to be creative. Any other questions? Let's go one more. Okay. Now, digital tools to create new value. This is the stuff, this is the stuff that's a lot of people fail to see. One of the things I see that happen over and over again is people take technology and they apply it on top of the way they did it before, as opposed to how do I do this, how do I use technology to reverse. So I'll give you one example. If you look at the payable process, I give somebody a purchase order, they give me an invoice, I match my invoice to my purchase order, I create a check, I send the check to the person. One of the things we're playing with now is something called zero invoice. I don't need your invoice. We agreed the price, I received the goods, here's your money. That's powerful, because when you receive it, and as soon as you receive an invoice, you're subject to the fact of all the work of trying to match it. You're also subject to the work of when it's not right, what do you do? So what do you think happens if an invoice comes in and it's only off by $20? You pay it, right? You really fight for $20 or $10? You don't. By reversing the process and using the technology to do something different, you can create dramatic value. So let's go to the next. So this is an interesting thing that's pretty revolutionary to the common business. Our extended sales force are realtors, so real estate brokers. They help us sell our product. Because we have all the automation underneath, what this is doing, this is a Tridel Realtor portal. So this realtor has sold 2 contracts. They've got $25,000 of commissions. Those are the suites that they've sold it on. Most of these realtors are pretty out of control. They don't even remember what they did. They don't have good bookkeeping records. This really makes their life easy. They can go in and they can click and they can see exactly who the people are they sold to. They can see, click the next screen. On this next screen here, they're able to see the actual checks that they were going to get paid. There's a whole front-end piece to this where we actually give them high-quality digital images to help them sell our product. But the innovation is down here, which you can't see, but I'll explain what this is. This is telling them your first payment. Before they receive their first payment, we need to make sure their invoice is in. They need to make sure that mortgage approval's in. They got to make sure the deposits have cleared the bank. So if you can imagine. But what this is doing is, so the broker is coming into this portal, they don't get paid unless the money's cleared the bank. So who do you think's chasing the purchaser to get the mortgage approval, to get the deposits collected? The realtor, because they're not getting paid. So we're conveniencing them by giving them the tools to see in real time, but we created a rules engine that we're making them work on our behalf to keep our business running clean. So this is revolutionary, because before we did something like this, I could go into Tridel and see we've got $10 million of uncollected deposits. Not anymore. We come close to closing and we don't have all our mortgage approvals in place. Not anymore. But by doing these types of tricks of utilizing a portal platform, you can see how you can create unique value by changing the way you operate as a company. Everybody get that? Any questions? Go next. Now, mobile. What I love sharing about mobile is we're on our 3rd generation of creating mobile devices. The first mobile devices we did were probably 15 years ago. Probably none of you would even remember what they were. There used to be a thing called a Cassiopeia. Casio used to make these little mobile devices. And we literally made our own mobile apps programming in C. We put them all out to the construction site. Nobody wanted to use them. 5 years later, they started to come out where tablet technologies were starting to come out, not iPads yet, but they started to have laptops with the spin-around screens. 2nd generation of mobile devices, nobody used them. And Steve Jobs stood up there with his tablet, and then, oh my God, all of a sudden the entire world needed mobile apps. Everybody needed a mobile app. I get pulled into meetings. How come we don't have a mobile app platform? You need it. They didn't remember the fact that we've already done it twice before. But it is a fundamental shift. This is a place where strong ROI is created. So click. So these are screenshots, again a little bit far from you. But these are all the different communities. So the goal here is that can we make a construction person, everything that they need to do, can it be done on a mobile device? So on this side it's saying, which community am I picking? And then here I'm actually able to pick individual suites. I can see whether I have permission to enter the suite. Click once more. And here I can actually see, are there deficiencies? So we can see what color selections people have made, what upgrades they've picked, what deficiencies they have. And they can click and they can manage that completely from this device. And that's the actual screens. The interesting journey in this was, when we started it, everybody wanted us to do, everybody said we got to do mobile apps again. And I said, I'm going to do them on Android. I did all my research. I said, we'll do them on Android. And this caused like a big no way. You can't do it on Android. It's got to be on Apple. And I'm like, well, why would it have to be on Apple? We have all these constrictions. Oh, it's just got to be on Apple. So I actually almost got fired by saying, I'm going to do them on both so we can actually do a proper analysis to determine which platform was right. The reason we were pushing for Android was, and in the end it ended up being the right choice, only because we started by giving the construction sites a tablet. The tablet was too big. I don't want a tablet. Then we gave them a Nexus 7. The Nexus 7 was too big. Then finally they're all using these Samsung Notes. Because it's a phone, it's their email, and it's big enough to be able to handle the site. So we ended up standardizing on this platform. But sometimes it's counterintuitive, and my approach to this stuff is, I don't want to tell them what to use. Pick what you want to use. What makes sense for you? And it was interesting to see how that evolved. So this has fundamentally shifted the way we work on sites. One of the challenges in building these kinds of apps is the fact that we have no connectivity in the buildings. Once you walk up into the building, the phone can't connect. So everything has to be able to cache into the device, and it has to be able to synchronize. Any questions about that? Yeah?
Does the purchaser have access to make their choices known in the app?
No.
Okay.
No. You know what? One thing that's interesting is sometimes what I found is because we've been doing this so long, there's just way too much information to nail down. Like an app isn't for everything. And something like even color selections and this, the descriptions that are being done, the amount of input's too much in some cases for it to be done properly. So we actually did trials where, we had them say, oh, they should be able to do everything on a mobile app. So you give it to them and then it doesn't work because it's just too much. Like you're not going to go and compose an essay on your phone. I don't know if anybody here has. Anybody wrote? You wouldn't write a report on your phone. I'm just checking because you never know with students. So anyway, next slide. So this is the next technology to change how we live, and this is the place where I've been working a lot, which is towards smart building. So what's the concept of a smart building? The stuff you saw with Bazinga, which is a community portal, but the underlying piece is a building that has a network, a central network to the building. So everybody's all connected on the same network. And what does that mean? It means that my cell phone works anywhere in the building, because cell phones don't work in most buildings. You have good Wi-Fi that's engineered. You have fast internet. So the big revolution that you're seeing that's happening now is, it's pretty much clear that if you have a building, everybody in the building wants internet access, you would assume. If you take a 100% internet access model, the business model drives that price right down. So right now in our newest buildings, people are getting 250 meg bisymmetrical internet access for $25 a month. Right? One bill. So you don't have 500 bills or 300 bills. There's one bill. Everybody's on the same provider. It's cheap, it's fast, and it works. The next change to that now is, now that everybody's connected on that same network, people can now share and look at cameras in the community to create, a smarter, a safer feeling community. The cameras are now all digital, so you can put smart analytics against these cameras. So example, the cameras, it's pretty amazing. You can go up to this thing and you can say, show me when a person in the red shirt went by the concierge desk, and it just goes boom and it shows up. In the old days, someone sat there with us manually looking back and forth across the video trying to identify the situation. Facial recognition, license plate recognition, all that stuff is now coming into play. Energy, when you have everybody connected on the same platform, you can start to get into smart energy discussions. People gamifying, playing against each other to see who can lower their energy consumption. So by combining all this, you create this smart community that's sustainable, secure, and excellent communications. Because we said in front of the principals, who here would live in a home where your phone didn't work? Nobody. What would your kids say if the Wi-Fi sucked? Fix it, right? Like these are fundamentals that should be there, but again, they're not there everywhere yet. And it's sad for North America. So this was an interesting one. Here's an ROI of a different way to use technology. That's the Rev building. Click the next one. And that's Vanessa. Vanessa is the first e-concierge in Canada. So what we did is we used the digital technologies that I was talking to you about. Vanessa is the concierge at this building, but she's sitting 30 kilometers away. She has full control of the building. She can open all the doors. She can actually open the package compartments, receive packages. She can see, hear everything that's going on in this building, but she's not there. And why is that powerful? Because she can manage multiple buildings at the same time using the technology. So we were able to cut the operating costs of the community for that service in half by using Cisco telepresence and creating an electronic concierge. And now that same technology has become prevalent in all our buildings. So you can imagine sometimes we do like a campus environment where there's a concierge and there's like 5 entrances to the building. And in the past they would put 5 concierge. They don't anymore. They're all wired together using this exact technology. Simple video conferencing, IP control, IP cameras. They can control the building from anywhere and we're able to drive a business case that makes sense. Any questions? Yeah.
What's the people's experience been, the living experience with the concierge?
I'm going to be honest that it's not for everybody, but people love the savings. So you end up with some people who say they don't like it. The majority is they like it. The majority is not only they like it, at the beginning it almost became kind of like a sideshow because it was so cool. Like if you go to this building and see it, because we partnered with Cisco on this, they upgraded that screen so that she's lifelike. You can't even really tell that it's not like she's not real. Like that's how clear the picture is. But there are anytime you shift in this stuff, you always have the naysayers. The bottom line is every new building now is utilizing that technology in one form or the other. Whether they're doing an off-site concierge, whether they're controlling multiple entrances, it's just a simple way. It's bottom line dollars that are being saved.
So people's what they're paying every month to stay there, if they own it, it's gone down.
It's gone down, yeah. Next one. And then inexpensive and fast internet service. This is the one that I was just saying. That if you assume, and this is cool technology, and now this has taken hold in the city of Toronto. But if you go in and you make the assumption that I have a building of people, if I make the assumption that everybody in the building wants internet access, which isn't a big assumption, and I decide that I'm going to distribute the internet myself, this is a really old model. That model was done probably 6 years ago. It was $24 a month. And this isn't even hard. Like if you go into any business, you think they're paying $50 a month for internet access? Yeah, almost done. You think they pay $50 per month for internet access per seat? No, it's about $8. All you're doing is taking a network and distributing internet. And people go, well, how come Bell and Rogers don't do this? Well, Bell and Rogers are amortizing the cost of providing internet across an entire country. And that's why you're paying more. They're screwing you too. I hate them. But I think a lot of you have that. But beyond that, sorry, I had to get that dig in. But there's reasons why this worked. One bill, etc. But you can see that simple ideas can create dramatic results. And that was all I had. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I was trying to from the business, fundamentals, and then let's work our way through. And there's just a lot of ways that technology can be used to drive solid, measurable value.